A disturbance in the stew, I feel. New Jedi listeners. Strong they are. Subscribe they must. Yes?
Hello there.
Incoming transmission.
You will go to the Dagobah system. There you will learn from Yoda, Master of the Stew.
A Jedi's strength flows from the stew.
There'll be no one to stop us this time.
Strong is the stew.
Yoda. You seek Yoda.
Yes.
Hello there and welcome to Yoda Stew, the strongest stew in the galaxy. A Jedi's strength flows from the stew. This is your dedicated spot for all things Star Wars. I'm your host, Ezra, here to guide you through the latest Star Wars news, insights, and discussion from a galaxy far, far away.
Red 12 standing by.
Red 6 standing by.
Red 4, standing by.
Red 11, standing by.
Red 9, standing by.
Red 2, standing by.
Lock as foils in attack position.
I have a bad feeling about this.
And you thought they smelled bad on the outside.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to Yoda Stew. The fire is crackling. It's hot, but we got the AC on. We are ready to discuss Acolyte Episode 4.
Day.
It is night time right now when we all were watching this. I guess unless you're in Australia or New Zealand.
True.
But technically it's night for us, but the episode was day. Okay, so I don't know if we should have recorded this in the daylight or not. Let's go ahead and put a few things out there, though, in the spotlight, essentially, with this episode. Lots to discuss. Not really. I was going to say lots to discuss. Short episode.
Pretty short,
27 minutes or something. It was nothing. It felt like it was nothing.
Yeah.
So, anyways, but yeah, I said there's nothing to discuss in this, but I don't know. I'm frustrated.
Yeah.
That's all I want to say is I'm actually kind of frustrated with this show right now, just a little bit. Non-spoiler review. Let's do this first. Okay, let's toss this to Lottie real quick. In general, Matt and I did this last episode out of 5 stars, or you can go 1 out of 10, whatever you want. What are you kind of rating this show?
Wait, out of 10, you said?
Yeah, out of 10
okay.
if you want. Yeah, out of 10 is fine. Or
I'm leaning towards 5 or 6. 5 or 6, sorry.
Wow.
Yeah.
Harsh. Yeah, I thought
Or
you were
6.
gonna be like a 7 or 8. Okay.
No, probably like a 6.
It's just short. It's just not. Let me tell you. Okay.
Mhm.
Let me just say this real quick. All
Yeah.
right. I'll go ahead and throw out that out of 10, yeah, it's a 6. Okay, maybe a 5. Because I'm frustrated. And now here's where we're gonna jump into spoilers. It's a spoiler conversation. Okay. I cannot believe all I wanted with this show was some time with Master and Dara. I wanted some time. I wanted more dialogue. I thought, oh, sick. This is gonna be a sick Jedi. She's gone. She's gone. We get some backstory. Maybe we will get more where she goes nuts on those witches from last episode and goes crazy. Kelnaka, can we get anybody even some dialogue where you translate some lines for Kelnaka? What has he said?
Right.
At all. This whole episode. I mean, this episode and last episode, nothing. He's dead. He's freaking dead.
Yeah.
Which we knew was gonna kind of happen, but you thought there'd at least be a conversation with Kelnaka like there was with Master Andara, or there'd be like 1 or 2 lines for Master Torben and Kelnaka. Nothing. Shriwook, nothing. We get no interpretation of what was Kelnaka's role. It's just frustrating. That's why I got my Jedi robe on. Okay. I put it on because these Jedi are dropping like flies. And it's frustrating because I'm like, the ones that I like, I'm thinking, okay, Kelnaka looks sick. Give me some Kelnaka, you know? And Master Soul, I got to say, is about the only thing in this show, character, and Jackie. I like Jackie a lot.
Jackie is awesome.
Yeah, really cool. Yord's still fun. Yord is still a lot of fun. But every other Jedi, too, that I see kind of in the background, and I know you wanted to ask me about like Coruscant and stuff. We'll get to that in a second. I don't know.
Not a huge fan.
No, it just doesn't sell. It's not really landing with me. Maybe it's because we don't know them and we get 1 or 2 lines and I'm like, who are you? What are you? Who are you? And that could just be that we're used to a lot of other Jedi and we're used to hearing one-liners from Ki-Adi Mundi or Plo Koon or whoever. So yeah, I'm just a little frustrated with this show right now. I don't know. I think it's one of those shows that I probably should have set out on and just binge watched the whole thing.
Yeah.
Truly,
It's not really something you should release one episode every week.
Right. Because I know it's this mystery kind of you have to stick along every week or whatever, but for 27 minutes here, or whatever it was, 30 minutes, it just felt like the shortest episode, and it just felt like we got nowhere. We did nothing in this episode. The conversations really didn't feel like there was a whole lot going on. It's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay. Just my opinion. I know I'm being a little negative, a little grumpy right now. Because I just thought there was going to be some cool conversation with Kelnaka. I thought Master Soul and Kelnaka were going to get to see each other and have this kind of talk. And I guess it's just as part of the problem when you build up stuff in your head. And then when you go week to week, you start to kind of speculate about what you think might happen. And then you let yourself down sometimes. So I try not to fall prey to that, but I feel like this show I have done that a couple times to myself. And it is what it is. Somebody who covers the show every week and loves Star Wars content. So it's tough to do. It's just when your favorite character just bites the dust and you're, like again, Master Endara, I was frustrated after episodes 1 and 2. I was like, seriously? And we got 1 or 2 lines with her.
I mean, plus the trailer was her whole fight that you get in the first 2 minutes and then it's over.
It's over. I already saw it. Yeah. It feels like everything we saw. I actually knew because of the trailer that this Darth Zipperface was going to show up in this episode because we saw it in the trailer, right? And so I'm like, well, looking at the time going, that's it. We're just going to have a reveal. And I really hope going forward now, do you think it's got to pick up? We've not seen anything, as far as I know, from the trailer beyond this point.
Yeah, true.
So this is where the show could really turn and maybe kick up a notch, and we start to figure some stuff out. There's some hinting here from Soul.
Have we seen though some of the witches stuff? No, that's all.
That was all flashback.
They're all dead as far as we know.
Dead. Yep. Unless they're behind the zipper face mask, which we'll get to in a second. Could be.
Yeah.
Could be, but I guess let's start with some of the good, though. Let's start with some positives, even though I just started with a bunch of frustration. I'm not totally out on this show. I know after episode 3, and I'd kind of filled Lottie in on what Matt and I talked about last episode, some of our frustrations with it, some of the things that we thought were good, some of the things that we thought were bad. So let's focus on the good here for a little bit, and then I'm going to go into some things that are kind of funny, kind of corny, kind of take you out of it for a second. But what were some things that you liked about this episode that you thought were neat or that you thought were kind of cool?
Yeah, honestly, the 6, or if I say I give it 6 stars, it's a solid number. Like, I don't want to say 6. It's terrible. I know people shouted out, "Oh, this is all 0" last episode.
Yeah, that's
no. I think there's totally things that are charming or cool or look cool.
Right.
And for me today, and it could totally be like how the whole day was, but to me the episode just felt relaxing. You know what I mean? And it's not what I don't think that's their intention with the episode, because it's like I can't. Sorry, I know I'm supposed to say positive things, but
it's fine.
I can't take it too serious. It feels like there is not as much at stake as there should be.
Yeah, I get you.
If that makes sense, because I mean they have that comic relief in there, which is cool, and I like that part.
Right.
But it makes it. I guess it makes it more feel like, you said it earlier, the length of the episode is more like
a Bad Batch episode.
Bad Batch, right? Yeah.
Right.
And they don't feel as serious.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the tone of the whole show. But I felt relaxed watching it. I thought the landscape was nice.
Yeah. Yes.
I thought it was a nice, they just get to go on an adventure, kind of.
Right.
That's what it felt like. And I like that the creature Basil, yeah, sniffing around. It was kind of funny.
Right.
I really like it. Like you said, I'm a huge fan of Jackie. Every time she has lines, I just feel more like I want to know what she has to say.
Yeah, me too.
Because I don't know, to me she feels so
knowledge. She feels like wise, actually. Like for such a young Padawan, she seems very in
very
tune.
much like she wants to abide the rules and really become one of the best Jedi.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, for sure. It actually makes me think like the sad thing is I'm kind of starting to think maybe these characters don't make it.
Yeah, because we saw a red lightsaber.
Right, maybe. Yeah. But I really hope that they do, because she's one of those characters that you would hope she would grow to be a powerful Jedi Master one day. Yeah. And she seems sick.
Master Jackie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's some positive. I will say it is cool to see Coruscant and to see them in there. Like her opening scene was like the training with the stick and stuff, going over forms. There was another cool Jedi Master who came in there, and he was looking pretty sick. So I think what takes me out of it too is there's this sort of like High Republic wearing white robes thing. It's sort of funny to me that the
aren't
attire,
they wearing brown though? Like if I see Yord and
they
Sol
are
right
when
now?
they go out on a mission. But when they're at the temple, they all seem to be wearing white.
Okay.
They'll wear their white cloaks and stuff.
Yeah.
But when they go out, they wear more this traditional kind of brown, your rustic sort of look, and then it's almost like that's their attire for when they're out in the field.
Yeah.
And then when they're at the Jedi temple, they have this very white, pristine, kind of feel to them. I don't know. Just it looks so different, and sometimes it's hard for me to get used to it. I heard somebody say that the fabric looks pretty thin, and it's not this heavy cloak like I'm wearing right now that you're used to, kind of the Jedi wearing. Which maybe that's more realistic, actually, that they're wearing these. I mean,
more agile.
Yeah, it looks like a t-shirt underneath there. Like probably, probably nice. You were going to ask me though, I guess, about some of the things that I saw here at Coruscant.
Right. Yeah. Was there anything you recognized that maybe someone like me who is not into all the lore yet wouldn't recognize?
Yeah, just in terms of like all the Jedi that
in the background,
that table. Yeah. So there's I don't know if this is Ki-Adi Mundi. I'm like looking at this dude thinking like, is it possible that this is him, or is this it's a Syrian Jedi master who has the cone head? He's got the long head.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It looks just like him. Then he's got the same sort of facial hair and everything.
And he could be around during that time.
I guess so. I didn't think he was that old. So I don't know if that's him or not. I mean, I'm guessing it's not, but it also kind of sounded like it could have been a younger version of him. It looks just like him. So So I'm again, we do these episodes right after the show. Get off the couch, come over here, sit down, do a hot take, a quick reaction. So gonna go look into that more. Is that Ki-Adi Mundi? Not sure. There was also a Keldor Jedi there with them on this mission. Some folks are speculating. They were thinking that might have been Master Plo Koon.
Okay.
And I don't think so. Again, there can be many, there's many Jedi from different species, many human Jedi, many different Jedi that are Keldor or other alien, species and stuff. So yeah, that was the only two that I saw that looked somewhat familiar to me. And I didn't, the rest of them, again, it's too long ago that none of them stood out to me. And I didn't see anybody else from like the High Republic era. They call the one master. So Vernestra is talking to a Master Holden, and you guys let me know. I mean, maybe Master Holden is somebody that is distantly connected to the High Republic or brand new. Not really sure, but so she was new, and they were going to send her to extract Kalnaka from his post on Kofar, but and try to intercept May, but they ended up, I guess Sol kind of overrode that decision and said, hey, let me bring her in.
Right.
And Vernestra is just really kind of frustrated with him about like, hey, what did you not tell me? Why didn't you tell me these different things? And I don't know. It seems like a mess. It's an absolute mess. And it's also weird to me that they could have gotten ahead of this. The timing is a little bit strange that like, this is where I think people might nitpick, and maybe I'm nitpicking a little bit here too. But in before the flashback, you have the flashback episode, which is last episode 3. But in episode 2, they're in their ship about to go to Kofar to get Kalnaka. To like, we know where she's headed next.
Right, but then they're called back to the temple.
They're called back to the Jedi temple,
and then they go.
And then Jackie has a whole training session, and they have a whole like May's gonna leave, and it seems like days have gone by.
They're kind of chill about it.
Right. And
they know May is going for Kalnaka, but
somehow they end up on the planet at the exact same time.
Yeah.
And there's no, it's weird. It just seems like the time, nobody thought about the timing in that. Like, hey, we need to come have a quick Jedi Council meeting, but yet it looked really like everybody settled in and had a true debriefing, and more went on than we realized. Does that make sense? It just felt like, how did they end up there? How does May and Chimera not just get right to that planet? Did they take a detour? Did they take longer, maybe, or something?
Yeah, maybe they also wandered around for longer, even though it seems like they just landed in the episode, and then we get the the camera goes over to Coruscant.
Right.
So it seems like at the same time they landed. So they probably wandered around that planet for a longer time to find Kanaka. I don't know.
Could have been. But the other thing too is if that's the case, then it's like because Kymir, the guy who's leading May to Kanaka, knows exactly how to get there, knew exactly where he was, had been there before.
Oh.
And so he could have led May straight there, and he was. They were only 10 minutes away when she, kind of strings him up in the tree.
Right.
But so then the other Jedi Masters, they have a sniffer who have Kalnaka's scent, which Basil or whatever running off through, which is cool. Basil is cool. I think having a sniffer is a fun idea. I like that. But yeah, in tracking him down, it just felt odd. It just kind of takes you out of it when stuff like that happens a little bit, because you're like, well, how is May not already there and had completed her mission? They all went and debriefed on Coruscant. They went, I don't know where these planets are, but I imagine they went backwards to go to Coruscant, got off their ship, got fresh clothes, changed, did the whole 9 yards. Jecki has a training session. The Masters meet. They come out of there. Osha almost leaves. Soul's like, wait, don't leave. You're coming with us. I had to convince him to let me go. And that whole time, May never made it to go far. They know exactly where Kelnaka is, but we get there at the same time. So that was hard to kind of believe and sell. Also, my one other nitpick, I know I was supposed to be doing positives, but God dang, it's not their fault, but it was the fakest sip of water I'd ever seen in my life from May. That's truly nitpicky. Yeah. But in general, I like some of the actors, and I think there is some really good acting going on in this series, but there's just a few quirky, awkward moments.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, that I haven't seen in other Star Wars other things. I never you can go back, and we've been covering several shows now, and I don't typically point out nitpicky stuff like that. So I feel kind of bad doing that, but it's become so obvious that I'm like, well, I don't know.
Well, again, to me, the urgency of the matter is kind of lost in like, oh, let's go on this big adventure all together, and like, I don't know. For some reason, it felt more lighthearted, which I don't dislike normally.
Yeah, no, yeah.
But it feels like, okay, they just killed 2 Jedi Masters. And they're not telling, they don't want to go to the High Council with this because it would...
They're all going to get in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I mean, Master Yoda's going to get his little stick out.
No, really, like, why did they decide to keep...
Oh, they're doing shady stuff.
Yeah.
I will say this.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to talk. Let me throw some major positives at this show. Okay. Vernestra is unlike anything. Something must have happened to Vernestra that I don't know about in the High Republic series, because she seems very political and very like caught up in, we need to keep things hush hush, and very into secrets and political enemies that are growing. And she's sort of showing us how the Jedi are transitioning into what we see later on, where they're really too close to the Senate, and they have this sort of dogma mentality. They're just set in their ways, but they're trying to keep power. It's really what Palpatine says later. Like even the Jedi who want to keep their power the same way that the Sith want to gain and acquire that power. He's kind of right when he's talking to Anakin about that. So, but she's the one that I'm like, she's just not at all what I expected from.
So Master you're saying in the book she was different? Well,
we see her much younger. And so we see a much older version of her here. So when she's in the books, she has the light whip, and she has some cool moments where she's growing and she's learning. And you have other Jedi who find her, who seem to think she's really cool, very powerful, very knowledgeable. And she's really revered and looked up to in the books. And in this, I can get that too. Master Soul and these other individuals really still kind of look up to her, and she seems to be running the show.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like she's running it well.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is kind of frustrating too, because I'm like, I don't know, I expect a little bit more out of Vernestra. Like, why is this? Basically, she's like yelling at Soul, like, get this under control.
Yeah.
Get this under control now, Soul, or we're all going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
And it's like, is that all you have to say? What I'm looking for like greater words of wisdom and stuff, but she seems like maybe she's juggling 15 different things or something for the Jedi Council. I'm wondering, is she on the Jedi Council? Like, I haven't really even figured that out. I mean,
it seems like it, but
it seems like she would be, but they've not really said that. Like, I don't know. Or there's the
it
High
seems
Jedi
like
Council.
it seems like we're in a subdivision of the whole thing, right?
Right. Yes.
We don't get to see a whole lot of the rest of the temple.
That's a great point. It's almost like the Jedi Masters that we knew in the prequel era, you know, Yoda and the whole council and his guys, they all seem like there are national intelligence agencies like that level high up, and it seems like these are our local cops.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the local cops are sort of like, guys, I don't know about conspiracy stuff. I mean, saw UFO over here. That was pretty crazy. But like the High Council and the FBI and CIA, they all know what's going on, right?
Right.
And it just sort of feels like Venestra should be with those guys, but it feels like she's more leading a local police division, and it just feels a little detached. But that's also the show. The show is meant to be kind of, you know, follow this small group of Jedi and try to figure out what is going on. It blows my mind. It's cool that they did try to reach out to Kalnaka and say, hey, we're warning you, but those warnings have gone unanswered. Okay. How long has Kalnaka been dead? I mean, that was the other thing too. Like the way they make it look as if like we should have gotten those communications. I'm guessing this Darth Zipperface disrupted communications on Kofar, and maybe they didn't get to Kalnaka or something. But.
Oh, I forgot to mention talking about Kalnaka. I liked how the episode opened up with just a brief overview of his little space and how he cooked something, and we see the witch's symbol.
The symbol. What is sort of like burned on their tattooed on their
the one
forehead.
That May has, but Osha doesn't have it.
Yeah, they all have a spiral. Even Mother Anastasia has this huge spiral on her forehead, and May had it over on the corner. It's kind of hidden by their hair. He seemed to be studying that. He seemed to be getting really close to something. It's almost like he took this posting. So this is cool. By the way, I'm going to throw these out. These are positives. I try not to be. I don't want to be all negative and be heard that I just, you know, am having issues with this show. Although last episode, I don't know, man. Last episode really did kind of take me out of it. And I went through it with Matt because it was one of the most divisive episodes in all of Star Wars. Right. Really. Had no problem with the witches and the coven and all that kind of stuff. It was the Force and the bigger things with the Force. But I also want to shout out some folks here on Instagram who hit me out. Tino, by the way, shout out to you. Threw out something. Don't forget this. I'm gonna come back to this. But Tino had a really good point that I want to bring up. But back to the idea that it seemed like Kalnaka is studying something on this planet because Master Soul walks into the forest and he sees like this what looked like kind of a statued face or figure that was hidden in vines. And if you couldn't, I mean, I have to go back and look, but he's staring. He has a moment where he's staring at this thing and he's like, oh boy, this is dark. This is bad. And then he turns to Osha and says, when this is all over, I will tell you everything. We'll have a talk. I need to explain everything to you. Once we get May and you together, I will start to explain everything, because I think Kalnaka was basically going off still kind of from 16 years ago, was disturbed about something with these witches, and gets a posting on Kofar for some reason, and is still tracking down. It feels like Kalnaka was very close to this dark lord. All right. And I think that's what Soul's realizing. Okay, there's more to this. He kind of let it go. He moved on and went to Coruscant and trained other students and really got involved with Osha, but really left all that other stuff in the past. Whereas the other masters, especially Torben and Kalnaka, did not let it go, and they continued to kind of investigate some of this. And it seems like he's really kind of tore up in that, and he got close enough. So again, kudos to Leslie Headland and everybody for this, because they've got me locked in on this story a little bit, because what did all these people figure out? We're not going to know until the very end. Like, what did they do with the witches? It's a mystery. It's going to kind of unfold each week, which will keep all of us kind of involved and going along, because I do want to know. You have hooked me, right? You have hooked our interest in terms of we want to know how this ends.
In the last episode, it felt like the time between they went up to their room, like Osha and May went up to their room, and then everything, like May started the fire, and then everybody was dead. The time was very, very small, in which those things could have happened. You know, the Jedi could have witnessed something, or maybe they found out before and we just don't know yet.
Right, we don't know. Yeah,
maybe things Torben told them after he was possessed. I don't know.
True, could be that. Could be that. What I think happened is that this coven of witches was on here. Let me just give you the full thing. All right.
Yeah.
Let me get my master robe all
get comfy.
Figured out. Here we go. So I love to actually kind of predict and speculate stuff, because I think it's a lot of fun. And I love to try to figure out what the showrunners are doing and where they're taking this particular show. So what happened, in case you don't want it spoiled. No, I have not seen the next episodes. No, I don't really know what's going to happen here. Yeah. Okay. But essentially, these witches did something dark, right? They used the Force and to create they used the power of one, they used the power of two, and they used the power of many, all right, to do something dark. And they created life. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what's triggering everybody is it's sort of
no one has figured out how to do it, but they did.
Yeah. And it seems like, well, the Force created them, but it was through this perversion of Mother Anastasia. And there's been jokes like, look, are these girls Anakin's sister and all this kind of stuff? Like, Daddy Force kind of is just, over here. And people are going a little too crazy with it. But so, okay, set that aside for a second. If you have a problem with that, whatever it is. But they did something bad. Okay. Now the Jedi are investigating this. We don't know why they're there necessarily. They probably have intel that they did something like this and that there's something bad going on here.
Yeah.
So they're going to investigate it. Or they're just checking up on this coven of witches that have gone into exile and were doing dark stuff before. There's probably some backstory there.
Yeah.
So clearly they have a history of being at large in the galaxy. They've done dark stuff, dark deeds to where they've been exiled.
Right. They had to go to hiding.
Yes, they had to go into hiding. So whoever this Darth Zipperface is, this individual, that individual has been around long enough to have known, I believe, have known about this coven of witches and have known about these two girls and maybe had heard whispers and rumors about what they did. Well, they all died. So the secret of what they did and how they created life died with them, unless one of them made it out or something. But because I think some of the problems that other Star Wars content creators are having online is that, like, well, if they could figure it out and Plagueis and Palpatine and everybody else couldn't figure it out, how's come? Well, they all died. Okay.
Yeah.
Seems like the Jedi killed them. That's where we're wrong. The Jedi didn't kill them. I don't think. I think Darth Zipperface was also stalking them at the same time.
Ooh.
So I think he's out there stalking them and trying to kind of figure out who they are. And something happens, and I don't know how it all breaks down, but there is a fight that breaks out. There's more mystery here with the Jedi and this other individual who showed up, and they kill the witches. I don't think the witches. I think the dark individual, Dark Lord, wanted to acquire the power that the witches had. That they had learned and was trying to study them.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Right. And then what's this ascension ceremony, the power of this planet, all that kind of stuff. So this one single Dark Lord was trying to learn the power of one, which he or she already has. Yeah. They wanted to learn the power of two, so they got an apprentice, and then they wanted to learn the power of many. All right. And I think, by the way, at the end of this episode, they did learn the power of many, because with one swoosh of the Force push, I mean, we knocked out 10 Jedi there or whatever, like 6, 7 Jedi.
Yeah.
That's pretty big. That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
That means on screen, when you look at Force powers and what that individual can do, that was the power of many right there.
Yeah.
That was the power of many. So take that how you will. But I mean, boom, just knock them back. You shouldn't be able to do that to these Jedi Masters. I mean, that seems like, I don't know, like some of them I feel like some of the Masters should have been able to hold their ground and not have been pushed back. I was waiting for Soul to ground himself and be able to withstand that Force push, but they all just got knocked back, and Osha just gets chucked aside.
Yeah.
So clearly this Darth Zipperface has learned the power of many, but I think that the whole point is that he or she has studied. I'm gonna keep saying he or she because I think the Dark Lord is a girl, to be honest with you. And so there's something there where this individual has been shadowing these witches and trying to learn their power because they died. The Sith will never really truly regain that, and over the years it'll be lost. Yeah. They're always going to try to figure out, like, oh man, how do we do that? How do we figure out what this is? So does that make sense?
Yeah.
How the Sith might be involved a little bit.
Yeah, because that's the secret they wanted to get their hands on, right? How to create life, how to manipulate the Force in that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And I think they definitely come close. And Plagueis is this answer. Plagueis later on. Plagueis is, by the way, Darth Sidious's master, just for Lottie to kind of remind her. So Darth Sidious, Palpatine, his master is Plagueis. And he's trying to manipulate the Force to create life. And according to Palpatine, he had figured it out to some degree. And then Anakin is created basically because he's manipulating things unnaturally with the dark side. So the light side for balance equals out, and it creates Anakin, the chosen one, because the Sith were getting so close to this power, and the way they would have used it would have been much different than how the witches were using it. If that makes sense. Although the witches did something dark and evil, they didn't seem wholly evil, right? They didn't seem like they're evil. So they wouldn't have used this power and abused it like the Sith want to do or will do later on. If that makes sense.
Yes.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and then I mean, this episode to go back to these characters in this episode specifically.
Yeah.
You were saying so last episode. Sorry.
Yeah.
All over the place. I want to go back to this episode, but
You're fine.
Really quick, go back to last episode. We were saying, okay, maybe, or I was saying, maybe because they were trying to create life, they were twins though in the end. One is a darker twin and one is a light side twin.
Right.
What we thought would be the truth for now.
Mm-hmm.
But, almost like to punish them for doing this. Either the darkness of what they were doing manifested in May, but then to balance it out, they created Osha. Or like you were saying with Anakin. Yeah.
Okay.
But or the other way around, because they tried something
that's interesting
that they shouldn't have been doing.
They were punished.
There was also punished with a dark side twin. I don't know.
Either way, I got you.
Yeah.
Can I restate it real quick for you? Okay. So basically what you're saying is that these witches were using the Force to create life. Okay. And the Force is like, that's not, you don't get to do that.
Yeah.
We the Force, dude. Well, the Force does that. Okay. Not you guys, but they distorted and perverted and did something dark. And so since they did that, it went ahead and maybe they only intended to create one child. And the Force intervened and says, no, if you're going to do that, we know your perversion will make this individual dark. Therefore, the Force will also give you Osha to counterbalance May. That's kind of cool. I mean, I think to see that the Force steps in there and says, hey, I don't think so.
Well,
I don't think so.
That's what I thought last episode might have happened because
I know, but
this episode, I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, May, and I want to hear your thoughts about it, but to me, it was so strange. From one second to the other, May all of a sudden was like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. She already killed 2 Jedi Masters.
Yeah.
And she's like, nah. I mean,
she's a little off.
I guess, like, knowing that her sister is alive changed everything for her, and that's what she said in this episode.
Yeah.
But, like, so quickly for her to turn around and say, I'm going to tell them everything, turn myself in, and my mission is off, basically.
It's over.
It was so out of nothing.
Yeah, for sure. It does feel really strange. It's almost like what? Yeah, go ahead.
And then she, what's his name?
Kymir, yeah.
Last episode, 2 episodes ago, she does a surprise attack on him.
Yeah,
wants to kill him, and he can
stop
her from that. And now he's just booby trapped by her.
Yeah, I know.
Hangs, head over.
So weird, right? You go from Kymir being super like he somehow
on guard,
and like she has the jump on him there, right? And gets at him, and then she uses some sort of sob story and gets him to run away and set a trap for him, and he falls for it.
It was kind of odd.
Kind of odd.
Okay, now I want to hear your thoughts.
Okay, so great. I like what you're saying here. Is we originally thought, okay, one light side twin, one dark side twin, and the Force did that or whatever. But now it seems like she's like, okay, hey, I was lied to. So whoever Darth Zipperface is lied to her and said these Jedi killed your sister. They're responsible for your mother's dying and your sister dying. Bad. Whereas like all that Osha has been told is that she saw May light the fire, which was ridiculous. I agree with people. It was a little crazy.
Yeah.
But we don't know the whole story. We don't know the whole story.
Yet. Yeah.
Everybody's got to calm down. But they she lights the fire, destroys everything, and Osha sees her, literally sees, like, she says, I will kill you. She says, I'm going to kill you, sister, which is bad.
Yeah.
And she apparently burns the place down. It looks like that. So from Osha's perspective, May's bad, and May didn't make it, and Soul tried to save her, would have tried to save her. Now, I also agree with folks, which is like, how was he able to use the Force and levitate her 1 second ago? Maybe he grew in his force powers because of a flashback. But
I was gonna say
you
that
know.
was 15 some.
Yeah,
No,
16
maybe
years.
not.
It was 16 years ago.
So
16 years back. So maybe
he was not able to.
maybe
do
he wasn't as
especially with
powerful.
2 people, because he would have
Right.
tried to save 2 people at the same time.
And he was caught off guard. He was coming in. So
Mm.
I give him. I don't think we need to be that critical and say, like,
Yeah.
oh my God, why didn't he use the force to save both of them?
Yeah.
It's just you have to concentrate and you have to. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a lot. So and back then again, he was probably just a Jedi Knight, and now he's
Right.
a master. So difference. But yeah, I think it's now the idea that one is light side and one is dark side is kind of thrown out the window. Maybe they lean that way, but they're
Mhm.
not wholly one is good, one is bad, but they might lean in different directions. They're
Yeah.
definitely different. But being together seems to be what is, I don't know, it seems to make them, it's odd because Osha didn't want to be with her. May
Yeah.
wanted her to be there and only cared about what May wanted.
Right.
And May wants her sister at the end of the day. So it's still kind of that thing like, no, all I've ever wanted was her.
Yeah.
And I was willing to kill her to keep her. Right.
Yeah.
So now I'm willing to like bounce on this dude
Right.
or girl, whoever this Dark Lord
Yeah.
is. And I want to be with my sister again. And that's all that matters.
Mhm.
Seemed like that was the only thing that the Dark Lord might have had a hold over May with, right? Is that like, hey, these are the Jedi responsible for your sister's death. Kill them. I'm going to use you, train you, turn you completely to the dark side. And then she's kind of like, no, actually, I just saw my sister. I'm out.
Yeah.
So that realization hits us. She's running over there, going to turn herself into Kalnaka, which is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just interesting that it happened while they were walking
On the run, yeah.
but maybe it is more realistic than a grand thing that had to happen. But maybe she was just, I don't know how long they were walking in the jungle, but
yeah, I guess I kind of get it because in the last episode, she sees her, she's shocked, and then she's processing
she had
with
some
Chimera.
time to think about it. Yeah,
she flies there, and then she's running there, and she's like, no, this is not, no. And then Chimera is also super fishy, and she's starting to realize that he knows a lot more, a lot more than he's putting on. So that's why she kind of is trying. She's trying to bait him to say more by basically saying, "Hey, I'm." That also could be just a big play, where she's sort of like, "I'm gonna do this, pretend like I'm giving myself over." He's eventually going to yell and say, "No, stop! I'll tell you everything," and he never does. So she gets in there to Kalnaka, but Kalnaka is killed because Kalnaka was super close to the truth about who this dark side individual is. And that's what's kind of weird for me, I guess. There's 2 stories going on here. You have the story of these witches and these kids who were trained and shouldn't have been trained, but which is to Master Tino's question. I'll get to that in a second here. I just am sort of like this dark sider is going to be so mysterious. I don't think we're going to know. I don't think they should reveal what this is. But you heard the Jedi talking. This is in their little our local police force. Their a little group was saying that this must be a splinter cell of Jedi or something, or a dark Jedi or something. They didn't know what it was. Vanestra's like, I can tell that this person, even from a hollow, I can tell that she's been trained by a Jedi. So that tells you it's a fallen Jedi, and not necessarily a Sith Lord. And I think that's going to be what settles everything kind of for everybody, is that the whole council and everyone will know that in this situation, this was just a dark Jedi that fell to the dark side, that went dark or went rogue. And this is not a Sith Lord. This is not a continuation of the Sith and this rule of 2 that they shouldn't even know about necessarily.
Right.
So there you go. To Master Tino's question, though, just to bring this up, anyone, by the way, anybody listening, Yoda Stew 77. So I'm checking now. So I'm posting, going crazy over there. So thanks, Tino. Do you think that we'll find out that Osha is the reason that the Jedi Council thought Anakin was too old to train? They both seem to have been found around the same age. And I said, yeah, totally.
Could be.
That's what they're doing with this show. And I know, and I have to say, I said this to Matt, and I'll say this to everybody. I know this is some people don't like, because they don't like this show. They don't like that this show would set precedent for things that happen in their prequel.
Such a big influence.
And impact. It touches it in a way, and it impacts it in a way that they don't like it, and so therefore they're going to have issue with it. And I'm out on that. It's whatever, like this show is going to be canon. It is what Disney wants to put out there. And if they, gosh.
But so far the High Council doesn't know. Well, they know about Osha, right?
Yes.
So they don't know what's happening right now, but they knew that Osha was trained and didn't seem like her.
Fit.
She was still too attached to her past.
Attached.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so to Tino's point, it's like, they probably are like, okay, she left. Osha said, I'm leaving the Jedi. But it's still murky as to why she left or what the whole deal was. We had Master Indara who said, hey, who argued with Sol. I don't think that this is a good idea. I don't think that she should have been trained. And so it definitely was a little bit of a disagreement. And then clearly the evidence here is that Osha should never have been trained and wasn't fit and wasn't ready. There's too much going on. It's sort of, I guess when you're Yoda later on, you're like, hey, you're probably sitting there after Qui-Gon leaves. Yeah. And you're like, this is what's bothering people is that now people are thinking Yoda's sitting there turning to Mace Windu going, I can tell you about the last time we did this.
Yeah.
It was these two twins from this witch coven. And Windu was going, huh?
Yeah.
You guys did what? Like, Yoda, you did that? We did. And that's why we're not doing it again. Okay. We're not doing it again. So it's kind of funny. I like when shows do kind of influence each other and that the lore builds and there's there's connective tissue. I think that I think the connection to the prequels was so strong in terms of like the creation of life and that so connected to something so important like Anakin and the chosen one, that is what is hit at the core of everybody being really not so sure about this. Now, I mean, everyone can have their own opinion on it. It is what it is. Some people hate it. Some people love it. And it is what it is. So I just wanted to get kind of, that's the elephant in the room is that everyone is debating and sort of talking about that. I mean, in different ways, kind ways, not so kind ways. Here we're just gonna be respectful about it. And I don't know. I don't really know. And I guess I'm reserving my real feelings and opinions on it until afterwards, because I originally came out of The Last Jedi going, okay, I got my master moment with Luke Skywalker. So I was like feeling really good. But then as I sat on it longer, I was like, dang, I don't know.
Yeah.
What's the story going to be? Why did they kill Snoke? What's the direction? Is this all going to connect? And I started to kind of fall apart a little bit. I was like, I don't know. I don't really see it. And then over time you learn people are like, well, we had no plan. And you're like, I kind of felt like that, but I didn't want to, you don't want to jump out there. You don't want to jump all over something while it's in motion.
Right.
So this is all still kind of coming out.
Right. I mean, we have no clue how this ends.
No, they could go back and there's definitely more story to tell. But I just want to point out for anybody, because I know I've had people who have hit me up and been like, this is an absolute train wreck of a show. And I've had people who are like, this show is freaking awesome. Yeah. So I mean, think about that. It's as divisive as sort of The Last Jedi, which is why I bring that up. And that's could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. It is what it is. But yeah, that's at the core of it. But I do think that's Tino touched on one of those things where it's like, this is touching, this is sort of, this show is impacting decisions made by Yoda and the other council members concerning Anakin specifically. Yeah. And that is where people are getting touchy about
Don't touch our guy.
Don't touch Anakin. How dare you guys? I'm telling you. And they're not. They're just creating a backstory that sort of plays into that. But it's painting the picture of why they did what they did, which typically would be cool. Typically people would be like, oh man, that's kind of interesting, But for some reason, and I think there's a multitude of reasons. Some are really bad. Some people are just honestly, everybody condemns this with the racism, the bigotry, all that kind of stuff. No, none of that stuff's cool at all. But there are people out there who are just not good people and are going to make really have bad things to say about it, and not like some of the castings, not like some of the characters, and that then they're going to be really ticked and go crazy about like the connections that are made to the characters they do like. Yeah. So there you go. Anyway, I'm mixed on it though. I'm really mixed on this show because I need to see the whole daggone thing. Yeah. And I got enough this episode. I got to say, I'm going to stick to I'm frustrated. And this is in a good way. If Star Wars hears this, I am frustrated because Kel Naka, Master Indara, I swear to God, I just wanted more of those characters. I was ready to like give the show a good chance. And then I guess this is where when Leslie Headland, the lead creative on the show, basically said this show is not going to be what you think it is. She was right. I didn't think this was going to be at all what it was. She was totally right. Oh, yeah. It's like I'm expecting more meeting of the minds, and all these characters feel really. There's a group that is connected, which is Sol, Jecki, Osha, and Yord,
Mhm.
right? They all seem to be very connected.
Yeah, they have some inside jokes and
Right.
stuff going on. Yeah.
So that's kind of the cast that we're supposed to be, caring about and wanting to be close to. And I do like Master Soul, and I do like Jackie, and I think that she's cool. And Yord's kind of goofy or whatever, but I think Yord's going to surprise us all in the end. I think Yord's going to be. I think he's going to step up, and we're going to be like, okay, that's pretty sick. But the character is just going into this that I wanted to see more of. I'm just not going to get to, and so that's a me problem, and I got to get past that. But otherwise, I mean, yeah, who do we think this friggin' Dark Lord is? It's just
what do you think?
I don't know. I mean, it's not. I did some theories, some shorts over on the channel where I kind of talked about, this really can't be timeline wise. If you're going to compare it to Legends, it can be whoever they want it to be. You know what I mean? They can change people's ages and they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
But in Legends, it really would be, they've sort of hit a sweet spot in terms of the time period, because it would be before, well before Palpatine is born. And it is also around the time that Plagueis would be an apprentice, possibly, to his master Tenebrous. So it's possible that there's this like Darth Tenebrous connection.
Yeah.
I don't think though that I think this episode sort of confirmed for me, this is not a Sith Lord on the screen. This is not a Sith Lord. They have a red lightsaber. They're trying to mimic something that they've read about in the Jedi text. They've read about Sith Lords in the past, and it's a former Jedi.
Can you remind me again? How do you make a red lightsaber?
Oh yeah, so to make in canon, that's interesting. That's interesting you bring that up, because for that individual who either they stole and picked up an old ancient Sith lightsaber,
yeah, could be.
That's possible, or they had to take their own kyber crystal or find a kyber crystal from another Jedi or saber, and they had to basically bleed it, which is to put a lot of anger and hate and pain and cause pain on the crystal. The crystal is sort of a, it's living and sentient, and so they would distort that and they would bleed the crystal and make it bleed and turn red with the Force and with their emotions and pain and suffering.
Oh, okay, but they don't have to kill anybody necessarily.
No, I mean, it's like if you are a Sith Lord. So this is where let's make a distinction. Like in the Vader comic, Darth Sidious does tell Vader, no, you need to go kill a Jedi.
Okay.
And, you need to take his lightsaber and then you need to turn it, right? You need to bleed that kyber. So that's the canon sort of idea that we have in terms of what the Sith do to create their kyber crystal. In Legends, it was just a synthetic crystal. They didn't have to do all that kind of stuff. And there was way more red lightsabers than there are in canon.
Right.
But that's why either way, people might say, well, any Jedi could actually channel bad emotions into their kyber crystal and bleed it.
Okay.
If they wanted to, they could. If they wanted to turn to the dark side. So again, if this person is just a dark Jedi, which I think they are. I think Vanestra is sort of like, they've hinted at, this is just somebody who's well-trained. If she is as good as we all think she is, and she sees a similar style in terms of like a Jedi technique that was taught to May, it's a former Jedi.
Yeah.
Who's Jedi? Who's apprentice? We don't know. That may never be told to us. It's whatever. It's a season 2 thing or whatever, but it's not going to, I think they are definitely not going to show the Jedi a Sith Lord. They wouldn't do it. I don't think they would do it. If they do, it's one of those things where you can kind of test the fandom to see what is a trigger for the fandom as a majority, as the whole, not talking individually to folks, but that you can kind of see what would set people off.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things where people would be like, the Jedi wouldn't know. I mean, if they did, you're going to have to show us a lot of their top secret council meetings where they hide stuff.
Yeah.
And where things are hidden from other people, which there were in Legends. There was even things called, Jedi shadows. And there was a function of the Jedi Council that went and collected sort of, knowledge that not the entire Jedi was supposed to know about. I mean, there's a whole thing where Count Dooku and Sifo Dyas are trying to get access to some of the Sith artifacts that are held in the temple. They're top secret. It's like Area 51. Wow. I mean, there's different levels down there, and you're not allowed to go down there. Nobody, even Master Soul.
Yeah.
Someone like Master Soul could not walk down there and learn from these dark artifacts. No. It's only the top masters can, and it's a super secret sort of thing. So I think that's probably what we're going to learn is this is some some dark Jedi who's either connected to Venestra. Maybe it's Venestra's apprentice who fell to the dark side.
Ooh, okay.
Possibly. That would
Okay.
be kind of sick. Maybe it is somebody just pretending like one of the witches or something, one of their members. I don't know. Probably not. But I just do not think it's going to be a Sith Lord. So when we go to identify it, I'm just counting out all these other Sith Lord from Bane's rule of 2 Sith or whatever. It's just not a thing. They've canonized the idea that Darth Bane is in Disney canon and is the rule of 2 is established, and they still kind of have to follow that idea when you talk about this. It's one of those things that if you're part of story group and stuff, they're probably like, hey, you can't make this person this particular Sith Lord. I mean, the Jedi Council cannot apprehend a Sith Lord and bring them before the council and be like, the Sith are back, and then 100 years later be like, well, the Sith have been gone for a millennia. I mean, they just can't really. No. Doesn't make sense. And also, if that is Ki-Adi Mundi, that's the other thing. Ki-Adi Mundi is the one who says on the Jedi Council that, the Sith have been extinct for a millennia. Yeah. And there's no way that they could be back right now. Yeah. So it'd be interesting that they're all looking at this character, May, and seeing how she fights and saying, okay, her master who trained her is clearly a Jedi. Yeah. Well, they all just met her master out in the forest. I don't know who's all going to survive and who gets back. And then what do we do? Do we figure? So they've got us here hooked, at least in terms of like, who is this individual and how do they fit into what we know about the Sith? Yeah. I don't know. Because Leslie Headland said she wanted to talk about the dark side and wanted to talk about the bad guys, if you will. And this is, I don't think one of them necessarily.
So far, it doesn't sound like it. Yeah.
But that's just my thoughts.
By the way, Ki-Adi Mundi, it says on the fandom wiki, 93 BBY is his birth year.
93 BBY. Yeah. So
can't be him, right?
Can't be him.
Yeah.
That's what I say. But is that canon or legends? I don't know if it said that or not on the wiki. Wikipedia. Let's go. Yeah, I don't because I looked up I did this idea as to what Jedi could be around during this time, and you have like Yoda, you have Yaddle, you have Yariel Poof, you Master Poof. God, if you guys haven't read, by the way, The Living Force, it's a book that I've been reading. He has so many jokes. Yariel Poof is a jokester in that book, and he's just cracking jokes left and right. So anyone listening, do yourself a favor. The Living Force, it's set right before the events of episode 1, and pretty cool. Pretty cool what his whole character. He's often teasing Ki-Adi Mundi, actually. He's typically teasing him. So yeah, so he was around, and then Oppo Rancisis would be around, and others. There's others who could also be there too. But not Ki-Adi Mundi, as far as I knew. And now they can change that, though. They can change it and say, no, we're putting him in. We're going to put him in. We're going to make him a little bit older and say that his species lives a lot longer than we realized. So that would be a change that they could make. And they've done that. Like Asajj Ventress, as far as we knew in canon, was dead. And then in the Bad Batch, they said, guess what? Actually, witch magic. She's back. Again, at one point in canon, Darth Maul was dead. Yeah. At one point in canon, Darth Maul was dead, and they said, George was like, we're bringing him back. Don't know how. You guys figure it out. We're going to bring him back. So things like that can happen. They can make changes. If it fits their story, if it tells a good story, and if it's important for those individuals to be there, then that'll be the case. I'm interested to kick off here and figure out what everybody else is kind of saying about this. Mind you, please, friends, when we do these shows, even like last week, I kind of like doing it this way. It's my excuse just to go in and not have all the answers and just kind of have a conversation about it, just raw and get it out there. I have liked a lot of what Disney has done. This is sort of as I create Yoda Stew in this new sort of product, I kind of want to remind folks that like I've been happy with The Mandalorian. Thought that was great. Wasn't big on Boba Fett. Obi-Wan Kenobi. People have a lot of problems with that series. I loved it simply because Obi-Wan's my favorite character. Yeah. And I just couldn't, I wish they would have done things differently, but I was very happy that I got that. And I'm really hoping we get Vader and we get other things. I hope they do it right. I hope they really put a lot of thought into it. But I've largely been happy with what they've done there. Rogue One is absolutely sick. Love that movie. Love Solo. Love it. So I think it's okay to say there's a lot of things I like, and there's some things that are just not for me, and I'm not a huge fan of. I was a huge fan of the sequels until The Last Jedi, until I wrestled with it or whatever. And I love Rey and Finn and all those characters, and I'm really rooting for the Rey Skywalker or whatever series later on, the New Jedi Order. But there we go, friends. I'm frustrated
Yeah.
And that ain't necessarily a bad thing. Maybe this show, I think you have to remember, showrunners, when they create these episode by episode things, there needs to be some sort of leftover emotion. So I come back next week and I'm like, tell me what is going on right now. Give me the answers to who Darth Zipperface is right now, because I want to know. So they've at least done that, and I think that's what's going to keep people around for a while and coming back to it. But yeah, there's just a couple awkward things with it, and I'm gonna let those things go. It's not, there's other things we can go enjoy and stuff. And I hope you guys are enjoying it, though. Somebody said today, I think
it's still fun to watch.
Yeah, it's fun to watch. Yeah, I think I always try to remember as a teacher. I was watching Rings of Power, and I run a Lord of the Rings podcast, Up Talking Tolkien. And my co-host on that show, way out on Rings of Power, was very much out on it. I hung in there for a long time on season 1. My students kept me in it.
Yeah.
They were so pumped about it, and they wanted to try to guess who Sauron was and all this kind of stuff. And I mean, most people,
sorry, they weren't too concerned about if it all matches up with canon lore, and
didn't care.
They just wanted to have a good time watching it.
Right. And sometimes when you're more informed and you know more, and you become sort of what they call a gatekeeper or a lore master, you start to overanalyze. And I see a lot of people my age sort of doing that. And there are times though where there's shows that come out and it clicks with everybody. You're like, dang, that's a good freaking show.
Yeah.
And they know that. Disney knows that, and they know that's why you put out different products. What's going to resonate with the masses, and maybe we're trying to target us. We're setting something up here different for a different generation of people. Okay, it is what it is. So
I'm going to be very interested to see how the Harry Potter show is going to affect. That's the fandom where I think I know a lot about the lore and about what's going on, and I care a lot about the characters and the story. So if they make huge changes and things that I didn't expect, and necessarily not very positive changes in my eyes, I don't know if
you're gonna like it.
I'm also gonna be very emotionally sad or frustrated with it.
And here's something interesting. I think some people would say, well, hey, if the creator's involved in that, like if J.K. Rowling is involved in it, you should be okay with it because they're the creator. I can remind folks there was a time when George Lucas was in Star Wars and was doing stuff, and people are like, I'm out.
Even with him.
Even with the creator. There was once a time where episode 1 came out and I loved it.
Yeah.
And he knew what he was doing. Those OG fans who had been with him in the 70s were like, what is this? Right? It didn't.
And now it's hard to imagine because they feel like the 6 movies all are, for me at least, one big thing, even though to those original fans, it doesn't seem like that at all.
And this is where, like, let's say, for example, I mean, this is where then they get really upset because they would say, well, the original creator would never have done anything like this. Now, in your situation, in our situation on Shell Cottage Radio, when you think about J.K. Rowling coming back in and doing the new TV show and working with them and bringing back maybe, I don't know if they're going to bring back Chris Columbus or whoever. They have a producer who is coming back, who was the original producer on the movies. But you're bringing back some of the original minds.
Yes.
And they've talked about doing extended scenes. Right. Now, that's cool. If they did that if it was somebody else who just wanted to come in and write new scenes, would the fandom like it and accept it? If it wasn't from the original creator. And that's what we get into with Star Wars sometimes is like, well, you have different minds coming in wanting to do different things. And if they don't fit or match the theme of Star Wars, people start to get really, they go a little crazy, you know? And I always want to remind folks, those stories are all still there. I still go back and I watch the old movies because they're classics. They always will be. The reason we can still enjoy all of this today is because the original source material is still there. It's wonderful. It's what got us into the fandoms, and it will always be there.
Yes.
I mean, the Force will be with you always.
Yeah.
So I just always remind folks that, like, it's okay. I don't people get flared up in the moment for a couple of weeks. And this will go away and they'll come back and they're like, that's canon.
Right. They're just stories.
They're just stories.
They're just stories too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I did want to remind folks too that I'm a teacher and that we are teachers. And so on this podcast, essentially I try to keep, I want to make sure that like kids feel like they can send me a theory or a thought or a message, and we'll read it on the show and we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it in a way that's nice and respectful, and just imagine you're in a K through 12 public high school and it's got to be appropriate. Okay. If it ain't, sorry, you can't share.
Yeah.
you can, everybody can share, but when it's not appropriate, we got to shut it down. So anyway, and I'm having fun. I'm having fun with this show, and I'm looking forward to next week. I really hope this show starts to move in a let's solve this thing direction, or go crazy, or do something. I feel like we need more time. I feel like the episodes need to be longer. I don't know these characters enough, and I don't. They all just step in, and I don't know who they are, and then I worry. Well, that was probably what was off-putting for some people who were watching episode 1 and didn't know who all these other Jedi Masters were.
Right.
George Lucas just made them up, and then they start going through, and you're like, okay, you start to get to know them in the Clone Wars and the animated series. You have time with them, so when something's new, we don't know who these people are. Right. Like, what, and that's I think my frustration is I want to know who Kelnaka is. Yeah. I want to see Kelnaka training another Jedi.
But you didn't get the chance.
I don't get the chance. And so I'm frustrated. And that is truly probably where my frustration is coming from. I mean, I'm sitting over here hoping like Kelnaka fathered Gunji, the Wookiee, the Wookiee Jedi in the Clone Wars, the little Wookiee. Like, did that happen, or is Gunji somehow related to another Wookiee that we know? Anyway, it's stuff like that I guess I was hoping to get, and I'm imagining there's gonna be a season 2 of Acolyte, and when I see Master Endara gone, and I see Kelnaka gone, and Torben's gone, Master Soul everyone likes, and it's sort of like it looks like this is gonna end in this mystery tragedy where he has faced down this dark Jedi. They are going to make it. I mean, they're not going to kill all these Jedi. That's not going to happen. But that's not a Sith Lord. And that's why it's going to work. Yeah. That's why it's going to, air quote, work. Yeah. So I hope people send me, by the way, on Yoda Stew 77. Just, again, on Instagram, send it. I'll read it. If you think the show is awesome, please send it. But I want more positive comments. So if people are enjoying it, please hit me up. Please let me know. So, like I said, I think it was a first episode, like Mandalorian, Jedi, Josh Carey, others reached out and said that they were enjoying the first 2 episodes. Haven't heard from them since. So maybe by episode 5, if anybody gets a chance, let us know. Let us know what you're thinking, because I don't want to get super grumpy on something. I want to have a good time. Yes. And Star Wars has always been a fun, awesome place for me to be. And it's my namesake now. Yeah. Ezra. I know. Jamie Christmas. I'm in it, All right, friends. That is all. Thank you guys so much for listening to us just ranting and raving here. By the way, once Acolyte is over, my plan, I want to mention this too, I was thinking about this more, was to go back, and it's sort of this lifelong work that I want to do, where I want to start going back, BBY, go back to a certain time period, have a Legends and canon timeline. And it may not come out weekly. It may not come out maybe bi-weekly, monthly, whatever it's going to be. But I'm going to start to kind of piece together some pretty good episodes for the YouTube channel, and they're going to be more polished. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. And it won't be super frequent, but it's going to be enough that like it's a long-term project. And that's what this show is for me, is a long-term project. I was telling Matt the other day, it just feels good for me to be in Star Wars. And Lottie knows how much I love it. I got my freaking robe on over here. I love it. I got Obi-Wan's lightsaber behind me. So I love Star Wars, always have been a fan. It was a big deal to me growing up. And I dream about it still. It's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy. And Lottie's not my dream. And we're running around with lightsabers, just like on starships, just, hanging out in hyperspace. It's freaking awesome. So anyways, and you guys are also all there too, by the way, all my Star Wars friends and other creators from other, podcasts and projects. It's been great. Like over the years, it's been so awesome to meet people in a galaxy far, far away. When I go to Star Wars Celebration, 1, I want to see everybody there. 2, Lottie will come with me, and she will be forever changed. Mark this episode, okay? Episode 4 of The Acolyte. Mark it down where I said this. She's going to go to Star Wars Celebration, and she's going to be like, wow, changed my life, you guys. And she's going to take her Star Wars love up a notch. Just watch it happen. Okay? I can't wait. Are you ready for that to happen? Yes. It will happen. Honestly, okay. I am. All right, I'm done rambling. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate you. We'll be back next week. And as always, may the Force be with you.
It's over, Commander.
Did you hear that?
Don't underestimate the Force.